The fourth spiritual secret is confidence. Being confident in yourself is the secret of a happy life, as long as you back up that confidence with a healthy dose of respect for yourself and others. Research study after research study shows that being confident empowers you and decreases feelings of uncertainty, fear and stress. But what those studies don't say is that confidence can also be a secret of a spiritual life. People who reveal a glimpse of heaven on earth tend to believe in themselves. The reason for their confidence is that somewhere along the way they have learned it is not selfish or wrong to love themselves, but conversely it's absolutely crucial for their spiritual development. If you can't believe that heaven can exist within you, then you stunt your spiritual growth. Because as this next story, sent to me by a lovely lady called Eva, shows, the first place for heaven to reveal itself on earth is from the inside out, so within you. Here's her story. I called it Me Power. Teresa, I've always been one of those people who used to say, "It's only me," whenever I come into a room or new situation. It was such a habit I didn't even think about it until my 10-year-old son brought it right to my attention. I was feeling tearful because it was the anniversary of my mum's death and I missed her so much. We'd been so close and I used to call her every day before she died 3 years previously. I had had a few dreams of her, which gave me some comfort, but I longed for a more tangible sign. Well, I think I got an amazing one. Here's what happened. I was taking Jake to a party at a friend's house, and when we arrived, I knocked on the door, and before it opened, Jake grabbed my hand and told me he had had a dream of his Nana last night. He was playing with Chase with her, but instead of saying, "You're it," she kept saying to him, "You're the." He said it was really funny, like she didn't understand the game and what she was supposed to say at all. I was happy to hear that Jake was dreaming about my mum, that I gave him a hug and started mulling the dream over in my mind because there had to be a meaning or a message from my mum in there somewhere. As I was reflecting, the door opened. Jake's friend stood there, and before I knew it, I blurted out, "The only me," instead of my usual, "It's only me." It just happened. I just said it and it felt so darn good. I said it again and again. The boys enjoyed my moment of madness, as only young children can do, and started repeating really loudly, "The only me, the only me, the only me." We were all laughing and then they rushed off to play, leaving me on the doorstep, a totally different woman from the one who had knocked timidly on the door just a few minutes previously. Sounds crazy, Teresa, but from then onwards I was no longer only me, I was the only me. It felt so good saying it. It was like a warm glow inside of me. I'm still not supremely confident, never will be as it's not my nature, but I believe on that day my mother in spirit sent me a sign through my Jake. She sent me a sign she knew only I would understand, a sign telling me that not only was she watching over me, but I was unique and totally special and should stop undervaluing myself. You see, you need to believe that within you lies the power to create happiness and feel close to spirit. You need to trust in yourself and feel good about yourself. You need to love yourself. Sounds easy, but I know it's much harder in practice. I often, to this day, have problems thinking of myself in a loving, magical way. I'm sure I'm not alone in this, and many of you may have also felt unworthy at various times in your life. Trusting and believing in yourself is something we all struggle with. Your level of self-confidence or belief will likely ebb and flow throughout your life. It will always be a work in progress, and that's perfectly natural. Even the most confident, contented person still has moments of low self-esteem and self-doubt. But there are things you can do and shifts in perspective that can help balance the scales again. All too often, our self-esteem is based on the external, how we look, having a relationship, lots of friends, climbing the career ladder, getting qualifications, having money, and so on. But all this is so fragile and rather pointless because As you know from afterlife stories and signs from spirit, in the world of spirit, material things are meaningless. Also, the problem with self-esteem based on material things is that you only feel good when things are going well. When difficult challenges are thrown in our path, which sooner or later they will, because let's face it, we all lose jobs, get older, fail in relationships, make mistakes, and so on. You just lose confidence. And right now, with the pandemic, it's kind of a global loss of confidence. And that's why I feel this pandemic is a call to spirit, a global call to spirit, and finding spiritual meaning from the inside out. I digress, but let's go back to the theme of self-esteem. To prevent your self-esteem being controlled by external things, it helps to be grounded in self-acceptance. The concept of self-acceptance is based on the knowledge that we are all fallible human beings. We all have flaws and weaknesses, and we all need to learn to accept ourselves, warts and all. Sometimes we are going to say and do things we regret. Sometimes we will get things wrong. Sometimes we are weak and needy. Sometimes we disappoint those we love and ourselves. And in a world of billions of people, there is always going to be someone cleverer, thinner, prettier, younger, or more successful. That's life. So if you have convinced yourself that you just aren't good enough, you need to stop right there. Perfection in this life is not possible. Indeed, it is not even desirable, because if you are perfect, there will be no opportunity for spiritual growth and transformation. Due to widespread misinterpretation of religious doctrines, many believe that it's only those who have lived a good, perfect, error-free life that make it to the afterlife. But life isn't about getting it right all the time. Life is about getting it wrong lots of the time and learning and growing from your mistakes. It's about confronting your demons and accepting that there's always room for improvement, because no one can be or should be perfect. Remember, the definition of a spiritual life is evolution. And if you're perfect, how can you evolve? Just imagine how dull and limiting the world would be if we were all perfect. How could you grow spiritually if you didn't have inner conflicts to resolve? So, to improve your self-confidence, focus on what truly matters rather than on the material. Practice self-acceptance and stop beating yourself up if you get things wrong, because try as you might, you are going to get things wrong from time to time. Doing the best you can really isn't enough sometimes. Remember too that building your self-confidence can take a lifetime or more if you believe in reincarnation to achieve, so don't feel despondent if you know you have a way to go. I know from personal experience and from countless stories I've received that spirit certainly doesn't wait until self-confidence is high. In fact, it often breaks through when feelings of uncertainty, desperation or despair completely shatter self-belief. But I hope this spiritual secret shows you that you don't need to go through trauma, distress and shock and pain and grief to find spiritual meaning. You can find it in quieter, happier, calmer ways, and in moments of warmth, security, self-belief and inner confidence. And last but by no means least, the fast track to achieving confidence is to love yourself. Fall in love with yourself. Again, it sounds so simple in theory, and we all know on some level how vitally important self-love is for a happy life. But where to begin if you feel unlovable? Hey, I know all about feeling unlovable. And if you've read some of my many books, you'll know I have often hated myself. However, you will also know that every time I moved from fear and self-loathing to love and self-respect, I opened a door to opportunity and spiritual growth. In my books, I often share with brutal honesty both the darkness and the dawn of my spiritual journey, because I feel it's time the world stops thinking of anyone who writes, teaches or talks about spirit as someone enlightened and highly evolved being. To think of a writer, teacher or guru as more perfect or special than yourself is to believe that person is living in a state of bliss and is no longer part of this world. This kind of thinking just isolates readers from their potential to find their spirit on earth. Spiritual teachers are just like everyone else, the only difference being They feel it's their calling to encourage others to also find meaning. But to see these people in any other way is damaging to your own unique journey. I hope every book I have written goes some way to breaking down the barrier between my readers and myself. I know this will bring my readers closer to a recognition of their own unique spiritual potential. I know my approach is fairly unusual, as in certain circles the idea that a teacher is someone without flaws or someone who had flaws once but has now conquered them and left them behind. But who really wants to listen to or follow someone who hasn't conquered their own demons? I have consistently challenged this ancient tradition and feel it is my calling to be as emotionally honest as possible and to let my readers know about my doubts and my many flaws and insecurities. I get so many emotionally honest messages from people telling me about their profound pain and despair. How can I not be honest myself in response? My aim when writing my books is, of course, to open people's minds to the idea that spirit is real. But I also have a secondary aim, and that is to share my spiritual journey and how I have managed to pull myself out of dark places and times. There have been incredible highs, but also many lows of self-loathing in my life. But each time I describe how spirit, finding spiritual meaning, pulled me through. And I can remain committed to showing others how to find light after darkness. What I hope my emotional honesty will teach you is that suffering and lack of self-confidence is universal human experience. No matter how perfect someone's life looks or sounds, they will still be struggling with self-love from time to time. However, this struggle can open up the possibility of tremendous spiritual growth as it forces you to go within and to heal by finding ways to love yourself again. It isn't self-centered, arrogant or selfish to fall in love with yourself. It energizes you so that you have more love to give to others. You help the universe when you make love the center of your world. You may have heard the phrase, love makes the world go round, and from all I have read and seen about the afterlife, I believe this to be the truth. Love is the bridge between this life and the next, between earth and heaven. Many people who have had a near-death experience say they don't judge themselves so harshly once they've had their experience. They love themselves because they have seen that love is a stuff of heaven, and heaven lies within them. For me, love is many things, but most of all it is a feeling of wonder and awe. And this near-death experience sent to me by Michael encapsulates that. I'm going to read this now. I called his story The Language of Love. Teresa, crossing to the other side and coming back to tell my story has totally transformed my view of myself and others. When I died, I saw my life replayed back to me, and every moment of pain was caused by me not loving or valuing myself enough. It all became so obvious because I was in an ineffably beautiful place that only understood the language of love. Anything not about love of myself or others or the earth just didn't belong there. It's so hard to explain, but once you've seen spirit, felt the bliss and unconditional, all-consuming love of heaven, you can't get love out of your heart, head, body or soul. You know you are a part of heaven, and because heaven is love, you are love. If only everyone realized that in this life and the next, love of everything, including yourself, which can be the toughest love of all, is all that truly matters. To not love yourself is to not believe in spirit or heaven or the existence of an afterlife. I had complete love and acceptance of myself in my heaven, and I wondered how on earth I could have forgotten that I was perfect and that I was pure love. Beautiful story. I am such privileged to get these kind of stories sent to me almost on a daily basis. Thank you from my heart. And when I talk about loving myself, yourself, I mean finding a feeling of wonder for the absolutely unique miracle of DNA you are, even for aspects you may not think are very special. It breaks my heart when people write to me and tell me they will be happy when they find a partner, lose weight, gain a degree, or are offered the job of their dreams. I want to tell these people to stop putting limitations on love and start loving themselves and being happy with themselves right here, right now. Because as near-death experiences like the one I read from Michael show, when you do that, you are spirit or heaven on earth. You reveal it. You see, if you can't love yourself right now, then you are not going to love yourself when you get what you think you want, because then you will find yet another excuse. Your only choice is to love yourself right now without expectations or conditions. Because that is the unconditional love that will greet you in heaven. How do you know that? Simple. You just choose to love yourself right here, right now. You can make that choice immediately, and in time you will see it's the most selfless choice you could ever make, because when you love yourself, you have then love to give to others. You just can't give what you don't have yourself. This 7-step plan is a good starting point for your journey to self-love. As with any challenging journey, sometimes it will feel like 2 steps forwards and 3 steps back, but the important thing is to keep going because you are on the right path. Keep looking ahead, keep loving yourself, and as you do, you will lift up not only yourself but all those around you. You'll also bring spirit closer to earth in the process. Here are 7 steps to help you find the light of self-love through dark times. The first one, I'm going to actually recommend another author, a quote, an astonishingly beautiful quote that I reference many times, and it's by Marianne Williamson from A Return to Love. And it's that amazing quote where she says, "Never be afraid to shine or dream big for yourself, because your deepest fear is not that you are inadequate. Your deepest fear is that you are powerful beyond measure. It is not your light, it is your light, not your darkness, that most frightens yourself." And the quote goes on. For copyright reasons I can't, but do seek it out. It's a Marianne Williamson quote about embracing your inner light and not being frightened to do that, because a lot of us fear actually shining. We've become so comfort withdrawing and hiding in darkness and making excuses that actually shining and owning and celebrating who we are actually frightens us more than succeeding, frightens us more than failing. And as you liberate your own fear of success and of shining, you will actually liberate others. So that's the first one. Every day read that quote from Marianne Williamson about not fearing to shine. The next step is inspire others. Look for positive in others. Inspire them to be the best they can be. They say misery loves company, but this could not be further than the truth. Just as you should not reduce or diminish yourself to encourage others to love you, don't reduce or diminish others either. Make others feel they can be the best. Once you start focusing on what is amazing and positive about others, it's amazing how these qualities start appearing in them, and you start noticing them in them and in you. The third important self-love step is to be your own best friend. Don't let yourself down anymore. When you make a promise to eat healthier, exercise more, pamper yourself, study harder, keep that promise. Keep that promise. Be your own best supportive friend. The friend that never lets you down, but also a friend who loves you enough to tell you the honest truth when you need to hear it and give you a pat on the back and a hug when you deserve it. Step 4. Celebrate you. You are a spiritual being having a human experience, but there's no reason not to celebrate the beauty of this human experience. Be grateful for the spectacular world you live in and the miracle of your human form. Marvel at the splendor of nature and its spectacular human achievements. Enjoy dressing to impress and looking your best as often as you can. Make your life an endless celebration of you and the beautiful world you live in. Step 5. Set boundaries. If you encounter people in your life who are negative or try to limit you, then you need to respectfully set boundaries. Healthy boundaries aren't saying no when you're really can't take on another chore or task or burden are a natural consequence of self-love. Step 6. Be true to you. This is perhaps the most important step of all on the journey to self-love. If you are true to yourself, you are true to your heart, you are true to spirit, and you are living a life of integrity, self-respect, and love. There are so many other factors with self-love, and I'll explore them in the secrets that follow, but I'm going to finish with step 7, which is simply smile and trust. On your path to the light of self-love, there are going to be dark moments when you tell yourself you don't deserve to be loved. Old habits die hard, but whenever that happens, say the words smile and trust out loud or in your thoughts over and over again. When you say these powerful words, you'll be reminded of past times when there was darkness, but the darkness passed. It is so much easier to love yourself and your life when you smile. So smile even if you don't feel like it, because smiling tricks your brain into believing that you're happy, and it will help you trust again. The fact that you're listening to this is a sign that you are more than ready to begin your journey to self-love. You are a spiritual seeker looking for the right direction. Start now. Take small steps. I'm truly honoured to be walking the same path with you, so we can all grow in self-love, and together we can light the way ahead.